So last night we spoke about landscape, the importance of landscape in the world religions, and the ways in which, a little bit, we talked about the ways in which landscape functions within us then to encourage us to move spiritually, to hold a kind of spiritual destination in mind to which we would attempt to move toward, to make better lives. Also as a way for the religion itself, or the practice itself, to hold on to a particular dynamic of goodness, let's call it, that we could aim toward. And so tonight I wanted to speak then about journey, personal journey, which is also about landscape, personal landscape. Aside from the landscape that we look at, that we also internalize every landscape that we look at. And so we are the earth itself, we are the land, we are where we are each one of another as we look at one another around this dojo. You are in me, I am in you, because we see one another. And that only happens because you come inside me and I go inside you. So we have this amazing thing to sort out, as it were. It's so difficult to sort out. But so the landscape within, or the inner journey, is maybe just I want to talk a little bit about tonight. As you know, I can't speak with notes or with prearranged talk. It just doesn't work for me. I have to speak from some place that rises up out of the Dharma and feels authentic as it comes out. And so that's my approach. So sometimes I start in a certain direction and I have no idea where it's going to go. So we'll see what happens tonight. But I'm thinking to start off with about that inner journey. I'm remembering traveling in Greece, and over the headland, although it's not there now, at the Oracle in Greece, know thyself. The most important thing that every philosopher has said throughout our time as humans: know thyself. And this is very true of our work in Zen practice, in our Zen exploration, our inner work. And whether we are willing to take that up, it is such a difficult journey indeed. Here we sit as a simple body, and why is that so complex and so difficult to understand? I don't know the answer to that. I just know that each human being is the same as a snowflake. Everybody is different. Everybody has different configuration. Even our veins, we discover, are different in the body, that everybody has a different mapping of veins in the body. Please don't lean against the wall. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we sit up straight for Dharma talk. So everybody's mapping of veins in the body is different. So we are very much like snowflakes, very much impossibly different. And how that happens in the phenomenon of existence, we don't know, but that's what happens. We can identify somebody from the mapping of the veins in the hand and so forth, so you can find out if that's, how different we are. And what a challenge for the medical field then to figure all this out. So know thyself. So this question of landscape and internal landscape is most interesting we refer to the external landscape as, in spatial terms. So the distance from here to there, or it's so far away, or so forth and so on. And we tend to do the same thing internally without quite realizing it. To say, well, I'm at a dead end right now, or, I don't know where to turn. I'm at a crossroads. We use all of these spatial terms about landscape when we're speaking about our own selves, speaking about within. So that outer relationship and the inner relationship is mirroring one another, just as we mirror ourselves in the lake of the mind and the lake that is before us out there. Although there is no distance between out there and in here. There's no such thing as distance. So this journey that we have come to in Zen practice, I recall very clearly a pivotal moment in my own practice, one of my own beginnings. I had taken the course in Zen and the Christian mystics, and who walked into that course but a Zen master? And I found out where he was sitting zazen and where he was practicing, which was maybe 10 miles from where I was living. And zazen was going to be really early in the morning. I don't go to bed until midnight. I don't know how I ever got into Zen practice. I am a night person. I love the night. And I typically don't go to bed until midnight. And so I got up one morning and I was standing in my pajamas, outside of my bedroom and thinking, am I going to do this or am I not going to do this? Just because I didn't sleep so many hours, am I going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do this or what? What do you have in mind for yourself? Are you serious about this? I mean, a Zen master was there. I met him and spoke with him. Was I going to meet that moment or not? And I did meet it, and I put on my clothes and I went to the Zendo. And then I went every morning afterwards. So that pivotal point came for me very clearly. I remember it so clearly. And it changed the trajectory of my life, that journey into that landscape of California changed the inner landscape for me. So what are we going to do in this subject of know thyself? Where are we planning to meet ourselves? So we have this situation where we wandered into a Zendo. We came into a Zendo and somehow we arrived here. We moved through a landscape to get to this landscape, to get to the inner landscape. And the question is, what do we do with that then? Because like the fearsome forest that we mentioned, the forest, of course, for people who are true forest people, was not a fearsome place, but for many of us, the forest is fearsome, and we just don't want to go there. And we don't want to face ourselves either. We don't want to meet that point where we will have to do some work, or we will see some truth about ourselves that we can't reconcile, or that we discover we have wasted so much time in our lives and we didn't do what we wanted to do, and what now? And it just goes on with human beings. But know thyself. Is it better to know that we didn't complete a journey that we really thought we wanted to do and didn't do, or to keep it hidden from ourselves and to dodge the wind and the onslaught of weather and so forth within ourselves, driving within ourselves. I think for most of us, we prefer the truth, prefer to simply face it. But we don't really want to. I mean, that is the other thing, that it's hard work. We can understand why the Zendos are not full of people just clamoring. We did have a time when people were even sitting on the floor here, but just not clamoring to come in because it's such hard work. And we want quick answers today. We want something right now. If we get onto the cushion a couple of times and we don't awaken, we say, well, that can't be worth anything. But the landscape, the inner landscape, is so fascinating. And it's our job actually to map it out, not just to sit and let all of the mind wander and circulate and circle and do whatever it does, but to actually map out what is going on with us, to be able to sit in Zazen and look coolly at things that arise in us. And where did they come from? How did that anger get started? What does that annoyance mean? What is that jealousy all about? These things rise in us, all natural, is all what it is to be human. But it's also our job to understand the map of where that came from and the fantastic pathways in the body and the mind that can actually take us on pathways to understand those origins. The neurology of the body is fascinating. And the way the mind sorts out and orders our movement. I mean, the mind literally sorts out the pathway for us. Maybe we don't know where we're going once, but when we do, it's there for us. That pathway is opened. That landscape is opened. We see it. We know how to go. And I feel, along with know thyself, is trust thyself in this mapping, in this way in which we go forth. I hear so much from students of, oh, I've been sitting for so long and I haven't gotten anywhere. Or I feel like this is not working, and I wish I sit on the cushion and my mind just goes around and around and around. My friends, that is the mapping taking place. If we but can see it clearly, if we have just a little space to be able to look at the roadmaps, to look at the signs of the directionals of how to place that. I mean, the directions are all there within. They're all in each one. Trust thyself. Everyone has a different way to go. Everyone has a different mapping, a different way to see, a different interior. Trust thyself. We have been gifted with that ability. We have been gifted to be human, the rarity to be born as human being. Now to take that in its most potential and beautiful way in that inner landscape and open it into true potential that we are. I mean, the landscape here is all potential. We think about inner potential. Right out there, the land is potential. I've never lived in a more fertile place than the state of Washington. I just can't believe the amount of things that come up out of the ground in spring. It's astounding. Billions of trees are on this landscape, this land, and weeds and flowers and so forth. It's astounding. So that potential, the life potential is there, and those same seeds of potential are in us. So in sitting zazen, we do have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to the internal signals that we are being given that are telling us who we are and how we can navigate through this mapping, through this very sometimes confused, directional, but they are there. If we but look and halt and look and simply accept those signals, those images that are the landscape. I mean, if we can truly realize every thought is teaching us. And I say also about Zen practice, we must be willing to learn. We have to be learners throughout our entire lives. Be willing to learn. Isn't that we get somewhere and it's over? We are still learning. We will always be learning. We still have to learn how to die. I mean, when you think about that, one of the most enormous things that we will do is we will die. And we have to learn how to do that. So it's not over, ever, while we are breathing. Always be a beginner. As Suzuki Roshi said, beginner's mind, be a beginner. When we look at literature, one course that I taught at community college was image of myth in literature. And I enjoyed that course so much because we would take stories, mostly about the hero, not always, but we'd take that and we'd literally map out the story. And we would look at maybe Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, about how he was called into this castle or that castle. I forget the story at this point, it's a long time ago. But Gawain was challenged at each way along the road. And we would look at that map it out, and we would see the pathway of the hero and how he went, and so easy to see his life in that way and what he had to meet. And we are on that same kind of journey, maybe not as mythic as Sir Gawain, but we are on a great journey, each one of us. The only snowflake, you're the only one of a kind. And snow is free. A student from Germany sent me a wonderful poem, and that was what struck me about the poem. I couldn't read it all in German, but snow is free. I thought that was so wonderful to think that snow just fell and it's free for us. We don't have to do anything about it. Of course, we live in civilization, so we're inclined to shovel it out of the way, and it becomes inconvenient for driving. But snow is free. So is rain, all of it. And where I live, the water, the tide comes in and the tide goes out, doesn't it? And we don't have to do anything about it. Isn't that nice? We don't have to control that. So what I got onto there was the idea of looking at our inner self as a map, a directional, through which we can see some tendency, some resistance, some overindulgence, or whatever it is. We can look at those points, those moments in our own path, to see the importance of that and the importance of our own hero's journey. We're all on a hero's journey, a heroine or a hero's journey. We all are. Every life is on that path. So what points did we meet that challenged us, that we met, or we didn't quite get, and we had to do over again? We'll be challenged about the same thing over and over and over until we get it. And that is the importance of being a learner. That if we are in the learning capacity, we can see these things more readily. We can see them in a way that really, really benefits life, our own lives as well as others. So maybe tonight I will take questions. I didn't last night. It didn't feel right last night. But you don't have to have any questions either. And these talks were meant to be short in this sesshin, not big long talks, but short encouragement talks. Yes.
I actually have a question from last night.
Okay, speak up for the microphone.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering with landscape and kind of the idea of we're all part of the landscape where I was kind of thinking of that subject object, it kind of
Yes.
reduces that. It says moving on the subject and the landscape's not the object, but we're a part of it. And I was wondering if that, would help us take better care of our earth if we thought of ourselves as being part of it rather than a subject acting upon it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is one of the great difficulties that we have had, that we have been told that we are that all of this is available to us for us to, what is it? It's in Genesis, isn't it? What is it? I just forget the words at the moment. Dominion. Sure, dominion. It's a huge problem that we have dominion over something, and at least that is in the Abrahamic traditions. It's not in all traditions, certainly not in Native American traditions, but that is very problematic, that we are a part of the totality, the whole. And yes, how much more beneficial it would be to the earth itself right now, because we are in this dilemma of having abused that which was given to us. So by all means. And, when we look closely at our own lives, I look at my own life and how I live, and, how I put out the garbage, and how I handle things in my own life and do my laundry, and all of these things contribute to the whole of the earth. And it's so difficult. The world we have created is so, it can't go on. There's a monk in Switzerland who wanted to sit this sesshin with us online. And I said, well, of course, we're in a slightly different time zone. So we're 8 hours different. So when we're up at 5, it just, wasn't going to work for her. But we emailed back and forth a little bit. And I said, please take care of the glaciers in Switzerland, because the glaciers are melting at such a rapid rate. And if the glaciers are gone, water all over Europe is gone. The glaciers of Switzerland feed all of Europe for water. So she emailed me back and she said, well, make sure that you put in a president who isn't going to, isn't going to make more problems about the environment, something to that effect, she said. And so we're at a tremendous crossroads, a tremendous facing of, learning to die at this time. We don't know if this is the demise of human beings. It may be that the earth needs us to go so that it can reclaim its integrity. But I don't know that. And I think that I said that to Koben Roshi. He's my first Zen teacher. And I said something about the earth is collapsing. He was furious. Never use that word collapsing. Never. We must fight endlessly. We must save everything. We must not allow it to collapse. And this is our life. And so our Buddha nature appears because we take form. We have the appearance. We are able to express Buddha, or you are able to express Jesus's teaching, because you are here. If you were not here, Jesus would, because I know this fellow is Christian and he's visiting us today for the first time, and only maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll come back, I hope so. But because you appear, Jesus appears, because you take form. So if we disappear and don't take form, Buddha is not expressed, at least in consciousness, unless other forms take up. Rats maybe become conscious or something like that, or roaches or something. I don't know what, but something. Aitken Roshi felt strongly that when humans disappear, very strongly, some other species will come up and will take on consciousness. And so that would be a very interesting role to be in also. But it wouldn't be ours. It wouldn't be ours. So the mapping we do within our own selves, to know thyself, to trust thyself, that mapping at least moves us forward in terms of being able to hold our own life together in the best way possible, to hold our own, to stem the suffering that we might manifest in this world, to stem that much. Anything else? Anyone? No. Well, thank you very much for your practice. Very beautiful sitting today and yesterday, and since we've been here. And it seems like, oh, this small body of people here, what is it? Why isn't it all filled here? But it is full. Everything is complete. Our practice is complete. We are actually complete also. We just have to see that, have to see it. And open to it. And when, more a little bit about practice and this inner mapping, if when we are sitting zazen and various kinds of things come up for us, if we can hold it, just rest on that for a moment, hold that thought, whatever it is, rest for a moment, make some space toward it, and allow it to speak to us, and allow ourselves to move it around the corner, to use a spatial thing, or to move it next door, or to move it onto the hill or the mountain, and let it reside there peacefully for a moment, so that we have some spatial difference also to be able to see why that manifested. Where did that come from? What is that about? And whether that is useful. If it's not useful, let it go. I like very much the Taoist use of useful or not useful, rather than good and bad. But what is useful for us in this life? In this inner landscape. So thank you very much for your practice.